The following is a presentation of the Dougsville Online Academy.
Salutations, I'm Professor V, and this of course is the Dougsville Online Academy's Intro to Art Appreciation. Now, before we can start appreciating art, one must define what is art. Well, paintings naturally, then you have sculpture, music, movies, and some people say architecture is a form of art, but what about video games? That got your attention, didn't it? Well, Roger Ebert, the famed film critic, and Hideo Kojima, the video game designer, have both claimed in interviews they don't believe that video games are or ever will be an art form. However, a little known fact about the two of them, Roger Ebert once penned a script to a movie called Beneath the Valley of the Ultra Vixens, and Hideo Kojima is an open fan of the Twilight series of books. So what the fuck do they know about art, huh? Now, speaking as someone who never took a bribe from George Lucas to say Revenge of the Sith was a good film, and as someone who didn't ruin the Castlevania franchise, I believe I am well equipped to tell you, my class, what art really is. Art is anything made by a person or persons with the intent of getting the response, hey, look at that, isn't it hip, and where it's at. Michelangelo did it with the statue of David, Orson Welles did it with Citizen Kane, Frank Zappa did it with Shake Your Booty, and of course, Eugene Jarvis did it with Robotron 2084. Isn't that hip, and where it's at? So thanks to a sizable donation from Reload Last Save, as well as the support of Rablats and viewers like you, I will now be renaming this show Gameducation, a comprehensive look at video games as an art form. So go ahead and throw away those $500 textbooks you maxed out mommy and daddy's credit cards to get, and pick yourself up a copy of PC Gamer from 1998, because we're going to be talking about video games today. Let me just get my... And by the way, it's pronounced Gameducation. It's just one word. It's not game education. It's definitely not gam education. Gameducation. I'm trying to build a brand here, and no one wants to buy a t-shirt of a show they can't pronounce. So where do we begin? Well, like any critic of an art form, I'm going to do a lot more complaining than I do complimenting. So I'm going to be talking today about something in video games that kind of ticks me off. But I thought you liked video games! Who said that? This is an e-course for an online college. I should be the only one in this room. No? No one there now? Sorry about that, folks. Anyway, today's first lesson, historical facts that video games get wrong. Now, Rockstar and Team Bondi completely hit the nail on the head with the sense of fear and trepidation that most Americans felt post-World War II in their excellent game L.A. Noire. But historically speaking, they got some of their facts a little wrong. You see, the Black Dahlia murders, a sizable case that you follow in the game, didn't quite go down that way. It was actually an invention of tabloid journalism, as were all murders at the time. You see, the first murder in LA history wasn't reported until 1978, and even that was thrown out of the courts when it was found out you can't try a mountain lion for a criminal offense. Now, the Yellow Turban Rebellion of ancient China, while it did last over 20 long years, happened only one time in Chinese history. But Koei, the makers of Dynasty Warriors, would have you believe it happened over 8 separate times. That's right, 8 separate Dynasty Warrior games, not including spin-offs, all begin with the Yellow Turban Rebellion. That's just not true, Koei. Also, Koei would have you believe that Dynasty Warriors is fun, which is also not very true. Leonardo da Vinci was an old man. He was born an old man, and he died an old man. I don't know what you're trying to pull, Assassin's Creed, but I don't like it. Now, being a professor means being well-read is kind of the job description, and while I have read many historical texts on the Battle of Trafalgar Square, the birth of our nation, the French Revolution, the building of the Great Wall of China, and so on, not once have I found a first-hand account of the existence of Carmen Sandiego. Dead Rising. Now, I know what you're going to say. Don't worry, I don't plan on insulting your intelligence by suggesting that because zombies don't exist in the real world, they shouldn't be in video games. Dead Rising is a work of fiction, and I can appreciate it as such. I mean, Ivanhoe is a work of fiction, and kids seem to dig that. My one gripe with the game is the setting, Willamette Mall. I know for a fact there's Sbarro's in that food court. In fact, there's a Sbarro's pizza in every mall food court. And if you're saying right now that your mall does not have a Sbarro's in the food court, guess what? You don't have a mall. You have a loose confederation of retail outlets that happen to be located in one internal enclosure. The Mushroom Kingdom hasn't been ruled by a traditional monarchy for over 40 years. The princess herself is more of a spiritual figurehead for the country. The citizenry actually elect members of parliament and a prime minister, which their culture refers to as a Yoshi. The game Mega Man 2 charges your character Mega Man to defeat 8 robot masters, but historically speaking, there were only 7.
The character Woodsman only had a bachelor's degree in health administration.
Now, the Crusades lasted a long time, but they only happened once. But Koei, the makers of Bladestorm, would have you... It just occurs to me, there were multiple Crusades and only one Bladestorm game, so I don't quite know the point I was trying to make. Historically speaking, Fist North Star was a badass TV show. Koei made 2 terrible Fist North Star games. Now, the game Contra would have you believe, if you enter up, up, down, down, left, right, BA, start, you'll get 30 extra lives. And while I can't historically debate this, I can debate it philosophically. Guess what, folks? You got 1 life. 1 life on this planet, and when you're dead, you're dead. That is, of course, unless you are a Hindu. If you are of the Hindu faith, the code for 30 extra lives is down, down, up, up, right, left, A, B, select. Rapture was actually built in the Pacific Ocean, not the Atlantic. What does Iceland, the Philippines, and Hastings all have in common? Well, other than being mentioned in a Murray Head song, none of them have been attacked by 3 giant monsters. Ergo, Rampage is a little bit of an exaggeration. However, I will give them this. Cucamonga was once destroyed by a giant lobster. So what did we learn today, class?
That you're a fat nerd?
There it is again. Who keeps... Look, it was my understanding that I had this room till 5 o'clock. I was promised I wouldn't be disturbed. And you disappeared again, didn't you? Okay, it looks like you pop up, you criticize me, you disappear. That's immature and honestly a little unsettling. Sorry about that, folks. We learned that video games, they're not perfect. But then again, can you think of a piece of art that is perfect? Maybe that's the point. Art, it's not a literal interpretation of our past, our present, and what might happen in the future. It's our own personal interpretation through our perception of the world around us. And like art, like video games, our own perception can be flawed. And maybe it's those flaws that help endear art to us even more. I personally think Gwenica looks like shit. People want to make fun of Jumping Flash and Twisted Metal for looking bad in this day and age, but I mean, this guy didn't even know what anti-aliasing was. You might as well hang a picture of Turok Dinosaur Hunter up in the Louvre. Okay, class, here's your homework for the day. Play Pocky and Rocky 2 for the Super Nintendo and make 20 Let's Play videos and put them on YouTube. Also, extra credit to anyone who can send me a copy of Pocky Rocky 2. My friend Jason spilled grape soda on it in 2007 and it hasn't worked since. Well, for ReloadLastSave.com, Rablats.com, and of course for the Dougsville Online Academy, a division of the Dougsville University of Intelligence, this has been Gameducation. I have been Professor V, and class dismissed. Literally class dismissed. I'm an educator. I'm not a comedian. That wasn't a clever sign-off. I'm asking you to leave. Okay, this is getting awkward. You're not turning the video off. Look, I got papers to grade, so I was going to do that for the next 15 minutes. If you want to watch me do that, that's your prerogative. I ask you not to judge the entirety of this episode or the show based on what you're about to see. It's your choice. You wanted this little extra, so... Let's watch a sad bald man grade papers. This is going to be a laugh, right? Why think Sonic the Hedgehog is the greatest character in modern fiction? F-. So this is what my life has become.
Thank you so much for watching Gameducation with Professor V. To check out similar series, you can find them at www.reloadlastsave.com or www.rablats.com. And to follow the creators of this fine program on Twitter, you can find them at ReloadLastSave.